Hello, fans, and welcome to another edition of the Wrestling Roundtable. I'm your host, Eric Santamaria, a fan of 19 years. Last week, you met my guest here to my left. That would be your right. Lawrence Haber, a fan of 21 years, joined us last week on the panel. Welcome back.
Thank you.
And now, you saw Rodney LeConte last week. His brother, Martin LeConte, will be joining us here, a fan of 10 years. Someone who's kept up with our topic, TNA, a lot more closely than either of us, but today, we briefly mentioned TNA last week when we were talking about WCW and the sort of problems it faced at the end. And I know a lot of people on YouTube are very pro one side or the other. They're either very TNA or very anti-TNA.
Because God forbid you have more than one opinion.
It's impossible. So today, we're going to talk about TNA's status in wrestling as of today in 2007, being December 2007. And for the people that hate TNA, and I'm going to throw this to you first, what's the biggest problem as a company that TNA faces in the wrestling landscape right now?
The biggest problem is that they are not pushing the guys that they do, that they should. First of all, the biggest problem is the X Division. Look how it is, look how it was, and then look how it is. Mm-hmm. First, they were like pre-main eventing, almost they wanted to main event these guys.
Well, on a lot of pay-per-views, the like when Samoa Joe was X Division champion, the X Division match went last.
Exactly.
Which was kind of TNA's way of saying, look,
we know
who the real stars are. We're just going to keep the world title on the guys we have to politically please, like Jarrett and stuff.
That pay-per-view, you know what's gonna be the original main event? Raven and Rhino. Nobody wants to see that shit after X Division and all that. So that was a good move to do in 2005. Look what you're doing in 2007. It's like, what happened?
Hall and Nash, etc.
Yeah, Hall and Nash. They want to be to the past, okay?
Hall and Nash. Those troublemakers.
Those two
troublemakers. They might as well be writing. They might as well be commentating the show both of them.
That might be a little counterproductive. Okay. But what do you think the biggest
Samoa John.
What do you think the biggest problem TNA has is?
Oh boy. Whew. That's like asking me what's wrong with the war in Iraq. Wow. Jeff Jarrett.
I think
not realizing that all they have to do is to make money and save obscene amounts of money is just use people that it's like using the rookies in sports. You got guys like Samoa Joe and AJ and I don't know Chris Sabin or whoever. People that fans they enjoy who are not these over the hill guys. They can work, they can talk, they've got gimmicks. The fans love them, and you just push them. It's easy. It's really
it sounds a lot like what we talked about last time with WCW.
It's different. It's different because people wanted to see Sting and Luger and Hogan back then. Now they don't want. They
not
don't
in
care.
2000.
No, not 2000. Okay, fair enough. But 98 they did when people were saying you gotta push Chris Jericho. Jericho's gotta beat Goldberg. No.
Sure, all those guys were still over.
Yeah, you needed to push those guys. In addition, now it's no. I love Kevin Nash. Actually, Kevin Nash is accepted. He could be champion. But Hall and Sting and Jarrett. Well, Jarrett's really
he's not even there right now.
Yeah, triple J. And who are some of these other
Dudleys,
slugs?
the Dudleys,
anybody who worked for the WWF and this whole VKM stuff. We gotta talk about that. You get my point. Martin, you watch it far more than me. I can't be bothered. Sorry.
In 2002, they didn't use the new guys. They wanted to bring back old guys and see what they missed. Like with the first champion, Ken Shamrock. He wasn't like
that was a credibility thing though. They were trying. They couldn't just be like, we're gonna put it on,
But they did have.
They pushed Raven, and then
about a year later, they had a time frame where Raven was really hot, and he had the big match with Jarrett. I think it was Bloody Wednesday.
Did he win the belt or something?
No.
No.
They didn't do it when it was the time.
Yeah.
And I think the problem now is
Joe was brutal what they did.
A lot of the guys Martin mentioned that the fans like AJ Styles, Chris Daniels, Samoa Joe, now Motor City Machine Guns. Mm-hmm. I think the problem is a lot of these guys, the window of opportunity was there a few years ago to put guys like Chris Daniels, AJ Styles in that main event spot.
Too late.
I'm not talking about as a heel with Russo. That bullshit didn't count. God. I'm talking
definitely did not count.
That's what made ECW a big following in the Northeast. It had its own crop of stars.
Yeah.
And even the guys who were cast-offs, like Raven and Shane Douglas and Bigelow, aside from Bigelow, but they all went through this cosmetic change too.
Yeah.
Raven, you didn't know it was Scotty Polo almost.
Yeah, totally.
The franchise was a completely different person. They rejuvenated themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
And TNA, I think, is just relying too much on these old stars.
The last
Same
person
story.
they tried to recreate and rejuvenate was Rhino.
I didn't
Think
think
about
about
that.
all. They call don't they call
Rhino,
him
no,
Machine
Rhino.
also?
They were gonna recreate Rhino, like make him the bigger star that he should
Well,
have
2
been.
years ago, they had the opportunity.
They had the opportunity.
But
He
he
put
was
the belt
done.
on him.
He was done when
He
he
did
got
everything
there.
on
No. 2 years ago, when he won the
He
belt,
does everything on one pay-per-view. What happens 2 weeks
That was a
later?
novelty.
Everything falls
Dude,
off.
the line there of people in front of Rhino when he won the belt was ridiculous.
no, it wasn't. Who was it?
Who was Joe there at the time?
Let me set the stage.
But I'll
for
call
you.
a spade when I see a
That
spade.
pay-per-view opened with Joe against Liger.
Right.
Joe had just debuted. The main event was supposed to be Jarrett and Nash when Nash had one of his heart attacks again. And they felt they need to do something to make up for Nash not being there. They put Rhino over in 3 matches and he won the belt.
And he won the belt.
Exactly.
Huge deal. It got a great reaction.
It did.
The next taping on Monday drops the
Took it
belt.
off. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like 1 step forward, 3 steps back.
Yeah, they could have made a star there. You're right. But you know what the problem is with TNA also is the line. Every time a WWF guy comes in, whether or not it's somebody that should get a push like a Booker T, they automatically
Put the
are
belt on.
in. You know, they're the next heir to the throne for at least a month.
Okay.
It's funny because
Look
Christian.
at Kurt Angle. No, Kurt Angle.
Well, Kurt Angle's
That
the
was
new
big-
Jarrett. Kurt
that
Angle's-
was the biggest one because how you can have the guy have all 3 belts?
Well, they stepped on Samoa Joe. They basically said, you know what, screw it. We got Joe's never gonna win the belt there.
That's it
You'll
right
see
now.
him on Raw within a year tops. You know, come
within
back
a
when
year,
Cena's
tops. What,
back.
getting squashed every
Once they bring Cena back and turn him and
What I
the
find
crystal ball.
What I find most offensive about TNA's television product, and I'm not one of these people that's going to lump it all on Russo's shoulders. I know it's
No,
not
of
all
course
his
not. It's politics.
What bothers me about it the most
Ego.
is that a lot of these guys are people left over from the WCW sort of era, like Terry Taylor and Jarrett and Dutch Mantel, and they're repeating the exact same mistakes.
Oh,
Only with lesser guys, with Jarrett instead of Hogan and Flair.
Sure, I mean,
you know?
every time they wanted to bring in.
I mean, what
Albert
is Jeff
recently.
Jarrett? honestly?
exactly.
They brought in fucking Rikishi. Who cares?
Yeah, why waste money
Okay.
on that?
No.
You
They
know?
wanted, okay, maybe to have like a little thing they were gonna have. They were gonna
But
plan
then
with
why?
Joe and
But
Rikishi.
why do you need to do that? Joe should be winning the belt. He shouldn't be doing a novelty tag team with Rikishi.
Why make
You know?
a T-shirt for Tomko and bring?
No,
Albert
you know
and
what
these
though,
sort of
but
guys?
you know, like
wanna make
certain
the start-
people, you might strike gold with you don't realize. Like Tomko has potential. I think we've seen it more now than we did at WF. But they didn't bring him in for that reason. They brought him in because he's the WF guy. You know, Christian. With Christian, everyone thought it was the right thing to do to bring him in. He's
turned out to be-
terrible. The guy's terrible. He's a mid Carter
he's not
at best.
Talented now,
Oh,
good.
yeah,
They're
he's not
making him a
talented
mid
enough.
good thing. Nobody gives a shit about.
Well, you know
But
what?
even Booker T, why? I mean, I love
No. Booker T,
Why?
okay,
Because we
okay.
like him. They don't need him either. Joe, AJ, and people for them to beat.
AJ
you know?
Sandman. But the thing, you know what
They had,
disappointed
didn't they
me?
have
The thing
Daniels?
disappointed me.
Huh?
The thing that disappointed me, how they pushed
LAX. LAX. It's ridiculous. You made something here, and then no.
Squash it, but because that's
we
why
got the
Cody-
New Age
that's why
Outlaws and the
Cody-
Dudleys and the Steiners. Come on, I like a lot of
Please.
these guys, but
Well, let's look at
The
it this
point,
way.
why?
When The Rock came back in 2003 with that great heel run,
Yeah.
and he got the new entrance and new look and all this time and everything.
It was
I thought,
incredible.
It was great, and I love The Rock. But
Matches
I
are
thought,
terrible.
why don't they take half that amount of effort and time and thought and put it into somebody new? In the same token,
sometimes it's the talent.
at
man.
the same time, when like Rikishi,
You got to
came
have a
in,
guy that can pick the ball up and do that. A lot
Well,
of rock. Yeah.
there's one in Samoa Joe.
Oh, well,
when they're bringing in Rikishi, I'm thinking, what kind of waste is this?
Yeah.
It's, and I've said this before to you guys in private. It's a fucking shame and a farce, an embarrassment that Samoa Joe is not the biggest name in professional wrestling.
It's
right
not.
now. But we're going to talk about that more when we come back from our
Hell
break.
yeah.
So stay tuned for more talk about TNA.
Be right back.
TNA.
What a mess.
It really is a joke.
It is.
Total nonstop action.